I think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Immediately, do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
I had you sent that article about the romance author.
Oh yeah.
I dug up another one. I got a
Okay.
good story on that.
Okay. Well, hit me
Ties
with it.
into- All right. So there's this romance author, Cheryl Kenyon, and she writes these dark paranormal romances, like sexy vampires, sexy warlocks, shit like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
She was pretty popular for a while, and then I think her sales really started to decline. But a couple years ago, she came out with my husband's trying to poison me, he's trying to kill me. My life's in shambles, my teeth are falling out, all this shit, right?
Oh gosh.
And so she did this big media blitz, I think she went on Dr. Oz,
Okay.
who reviewed your metal readings are very suspicious, and I'm very concerned for you.
Yeah.
So just building up this narrative that this husband's been working behind the scenes. Turns out that she may be crazy. And not, kind of spinning this tale along. So there's depending on who you talk to, old friends will say she's always been very, very involved in her stories, and I don't know what to believe from her. I don't trust her.
Right.
Old acquaintances, and so she's been on this crusade for some time. So this Vulture article, somebody went and interviewed her in her home, this sort of gothic mansion sort of thing, and it's a fascinating read. I'd recommend it if you want to read just a sense of where artists can go wrong.
Right.
And so she's still pursuing her husband. He's this is the finest fiction you ever wrote. I don't know what you're talking about. Her son's it all happened. All the evidence is there, but it's such a weird story.
So the allegation is that the husband has been poisoning her?
That's right. Yeah. And at first it
yeah.
was perfect husband, he supported me when I was writing, took care of the kids. He's so proud of me. Real heroes exist. To
Right.
her sales start declining. She's it's all my marriage's fault. And so this stark turnaround to the slow paranoia, right? And you can totally see somebody who's inclined to make up just wild stories, being taking this tag. It sounds like a romance novel, or sort of a twist.
Yeah, get back to method. It's Jared Leto style method acting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I always say Leto. I've heard you say Leto, I think.
You know what? You could be right.
Leto, Lato, who gives a shit, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rose by any other name.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of a dark turn towards paranoia, the world has gone crazy due to a billionaire buying a media conglomerate. When thought of in that term, I'm actually, this isn't a big deal at all. This is exactly what billionaires do. It's a big deal, but it's not unusual. I think it feels very unusual for some reason, but just a billionaire bought a newspaper empire or a communications network or something like that. It's a surprise that he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, exactly. I have mixed feelings about Musk, but it is, I don't know, just Twitter's such an accelerated propaganda machine when left to run unchecked. And I get that they, it's really a case by case thing. We know the reasons why people are being kicked off, and it's because they're promoting white nationalism, conspiracy theory, to the extent that it's harmful and just pure misinformation, and people just quaff that shit down, they don't think about it. So go ahead.
Go on. Oh, I was just gonna say it's like a National Enquirer story.
Oh yeah, run amok.
Yeah, but instead of it just being instead of someone chuckling at the idea of Bat Boy, it's it's retweeting that Batboy exists and being completely earnest about the matter. Like it's entering into a grocery store tabloid universe. And I can see how that. I understand the pleasures of that. It's much more exciting than getting fucked all the time by, like just not a good fucked either, not a proper fucked, but like just getting fucked over, and having to like kind of face that. It's easier to think that like I am under assault, but I also have the keys to unlocking the mystery, and I'm not helpless.
I don't know his game either, because like it's like I don't really believe that he's gonna do like full free speech. Like we've seen what happens. There's a chain of like right wing Twitter replacements that have just failed, because as soon as they really open it up, it's like, oh no, you actually can't say that. We have to stop you for legal reasons. So like it's it's ridiculous. And like I think he just tweeted to like, I'm talking about free speech to the extent that the government allows. So that's the extent of it, which is really not that exciting. And like, is it really worth a vanity like 55 billion purchase? I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't have that kind of money. Maybe it is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm really on a case by on a wait and see basis with this. Everybody says lots of stuff, and most definitely Mr. Musk, Mr. Charlatan whore Musk, and so we'll see. Like he put his money literally where his mouth is, fine, and but what he's going to do with it, we're all going to find out.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a sneaking suspicion it'll be very much the same product.
I think it will be too. I think it'll be like, yeah, Elon's in charge now. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And put a little stamp on it, call it a day.
Yeah. But we'll see. I can understand, I understand your concerns. I understand everybody else's concerns. But at the same time, like, there's so much overreaction. I'm leaving Twitter immediately. Oh,
yeah. That's
like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. Way too much.
That's what, yeah, well, that's a classic virtue signaling, but embarrassing when you don't do it.
Yeah.
Or when you come back.
Exactly. Yeah. I've seen people like, there's some speculation of like, okay, like this is stupid. What can we actually do to like harm Twitter's revenue? And it's just like, block every ad you see, report every ad you see, and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, like maybe that would be a little more interesting, but also I don't really care that much, nor do I use Twitter that much. So.
And the ads aren't really that disruptive, and I expect to be bombarded with ads. That's that's how it works. That's what social media, that's what the majority of the internet is about. To the extent that it ruins. I was reading a Vulture article today. I forget about what. Couldn't have been that good an article.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was cut up with a bunch of advertisements and stuff like that, and it really interrupted the flow. It's on the tip of my tongue what it was. Oh well. It was about what's his nose? It was about Gandolfini playing in The Sopranos. It was sort of an extended discussion, I think, about like how fucked up the whole experience was
for him, or just okay.
Yeah, like a much more intense experience for him than I would have thought, and much more turbulent production behind The Sopranos than I would have thought.
Because mobsters were like, just like bringing him out for God knows what, or like.
No, he apparently, what do I know? But and I didn't read the article extremely carefully because it turned out to be much longer than I thought. But basically, it was he'd get the script and he would just be revolted by the things that he would have to do, and they would have to kind of sometimes he'd just disappear. Like, especially in later seasons, he would just disappear and they had to intervene on him and stuff like that. And
wow.
Apparently he was just having perhaps having trouble with it.
Interesting.
Yeah. But doing it so well, I just never would have thought. Like there's a
really interesting Sopranos effect where I was very aware of it watching it, that your empathy just goes with these characters, and even though that awful things are happening, you're just kind of siding with it. So I mean, I wonder if that's I wonder if that had some toll on him, or
Hmm. Yeah. So tune into Vulture, ladies and gentlemen. Don't mind the ads.
Yeah, we got
You
like
know.
double for. We should be getting paid by Vulture
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
They're really getting there.
Brought to you by Vulture.
Yeah.
Extinction Jedi. Yeah, I guess we can. I guess we can turn over to our the topic of the day. Um, we want to do some more manga. We love Junji Ito. We're just gonna, we're gonna get our toes wet going back into the manga that. Well, I guess actually we did Fist of the North Star. So I guess that was a different. And now we're getting a little dark though. Dark and paranoid and really really fucked up. Holy jeez.
Yeah, this one's a lot of fun.
Did I say the title? No Longer
You
Human?
didn't.
Okay, No Longer Human, the adaptation of the Osamu Dazai novel from 1948. I've never read the novel. Have you ever read the novel?
No, I had this like beautiful plan that I would reread the manga, then read the novel, and that sure as hell didn't happen. But I do. So I'll get to it because I love this story.
Yeah, I understand. Well, we'll talk about it, but just kind of looking around at little documentaries and essays online. Apparently, actually, and even from the interview with Ito himself, there was some not liberties taken, but additions, expansions.
Yes.
This is not strictly speaking adhering to the novel.
No.
Although it is, it's an adaptation of the novel.
Yeah, but I think in some ways there's some commentary on something.
Yeah,
which I hope to like get into or like talk through as we do this.
Yeah, because I share your I share your suspicion. I mean, I'm sure the novel has much to say about Japanese culture in the 40s, 30s and 40s, but I feel that Ito's take on it, it's hard to tell. I can't tell. Like, there's metatext, but I can't tell what is he adding a metatext on top of the metatext or blending with it. I can't. I would have really also have liked to have read the novel to get a better sense of this thing. But
yeah, because knowing where those changes are, the adaptations would be really helpful. I do have two kind of readings that I want to advance as we go, but
sure,
we'll get there.
Yeah, well, this is my first go round, and I didn't get a chance to do the full prep that I might normally have. So yeah, I don't have a reading at this point. I've got like some notions. I don't feel lost in the text. I don't have a grasp of it, right?
Yeah, it's like it's massive. There's a lot to take in. This is a fucking journey of just debauchery and for that reason I kind of like I wanted you to read it because I thought some of that stuff might.
Oh yeah, no, it pleased me.
Yeah.
I was not disappointed, and it was nice to have by the bedside for a little while.
Yeah.
The my first sense reading it. So I looked at Dazai's what's his name, Suji Susimi, his real name. He apparently had studied French literature briefly in the 1930s.
Okay.
And so I was like, shit. Well, but that was it. I was like, this is like Camus, like there's the stranger vibe or the outsider, however you translate it.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be, but it doesn't match time wise, because the Stranger's not till like 42 or something like that, and I don't know if it would have, like, it got English adaptations pretty quickly, but I don't know if this dude would have read them. But either way, like it's still Camus-esque, like far beyond it, but definitely feels French existential.
Yeah, or maybe like a Fleur de Mal, like the Baudelaire.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that work very well, but I think I know what you're trying to say to me by saying it.
Either, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll just I kind of want to riff off that, but then I'm like, I actually don't know anything about it, so I'll just sound like a stupid asshole. So, I'll say I liked this book, and I was not blown away by it. I mean, I was blown away by it in the same way that I'm blown away by all Junji Ito. I think he was really well suited to this, and it didn't flag. It never lost its momentum, which I feel with Junji is possible. And I've
Yes.
kind of heard this criticism as well, regarding other works of his. But this is a sustained effort, all throughout, and it doesn't get stuck in the mud at any point. So you just plow through it. Just watching this guy fucking just disintegrate. It's funny. Yozo, there we go.
Yeah, Yozo Oba.
Yeah. So yeah, I was I don't know, I guess we could maybe, the framing device was I didn't understand the framing device. Maybe we can start there. I didn't understand the framing. No, because it's like it opens up with the guy drinking on the river with the woman, and it's 1948, but it's not Yozo, and I don't know who this guy is, right? Because it's the first time I've read it. I know who it is now, and I didn't know how the author had originally committed suicide. But I realized this is Osamu Dazai committing suicide at the very beginning of this story, and then we enter into it, But
Shit, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah,
and so it's actually
right,
it's like a flashback from the very end of the movie, the comic, brings us back to this moment. This is how he reacts to the end of this book, like encountering what Yozo becomes. Like, it's the thing that drives the author to suicide. And that's cool, man. That's a nice touch that you don't really get. You don't understand the purpose of it until you get to the end, and even then, like, it's easy to kind of miss.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, because I thought I didn't go back to it, and I really thought that it was like Yozo's attempt when we'll get there.
Yeah.
That's a fucking low for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, they like throw themselves into the river tied together, and it's like, yeah, am I gonna die? Is this finally it?
Mm-hmm.
And then it smashes to I guess the birth of Yozo Oba. And the great opening lines. Mine has been a life of much shame. I have no understanding of other human beings. My apprehension on discovering that my concept of happiness seems to be completely at variance with everyone else was so great to make me groan night after night in my bed.
It drove me indeed to the brink of lunacy. It really did. Yeah, like this is a fair prologue. It's
I want to say
10 misfortunes.
Right off the bat, like, this is like just a masterpiece of adaptation. Like, and Ito's touch, the way that he employs his skills as a horror artist is like, it's pulled back. It's restrained from what his normal work would be. Mm-hmm. But these touches, like when he's watching people eat, he's like, I don't understand people eating. I don't get hungry. Like, this is a weird ritual that people have, and like their eyes are just all shaded over. And he's thinking about the ghosts that could be in his house because like they're an old landowning estate, and maybe the ghosts of the people that we exploited are still here. And they're just like the angles and shit like that are just like creating the sense of like weird alienation right off the bat.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. When he talks, this was for an adult. So I was watching an interview with him for Viz, that they did like an official interview as part of the publication of this, and it's brief, but they ask him about how he came to this, and he characterizes his other work, and this surprises me, but it doesn't, based on our conversation about Remina. He sort of characterized himself as someone who mostly does horror for girls.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this was his attempt to do something more adult and maybe male, but definitely adult. And he thought it would be interesting to tackle it. And yeah, he's bringing his tools to the table. And your comment about the guy being Yozo being concerned about ghosts, like, this is a ghost story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like, this guy's haunted, and but it's mental health, but also it's figured in the form of haunting and spirits. but since it's Japanese, it's like family ghosts. It's got like like his ghosts are genetic.
That's a good point. Yeah, there is a real sense of like being haunted by family, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Family, and then and all the women he's killed.
And, and his own actions. I love that his friend calls him like lady killer all the time, but like it just that takes on like such a tone later on.
Yes, it does. Yes, thank you for seeing that. Yeah, I was just like, you sly dog. That's perfect.
I think that you're absolutely right. Ghost Story. This I think it's also can be read as like a building Roman or like a Künstlerroman, like which is like the formation of an artist story.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there's something really interesting about art in this, in that I think art starts, or at least is held out as a possibility of, I guess, just taking all the damage and trauma that Oba has / Dazai has, and like it being a sort of way of realizing that life. I'll talk a little bit more about that later when we talk about that, the first that kid who kills himself. But it's definitely, the art is always there. It's interesting that I thought this must have been an adaptation on Ito's part, but no, like in the novel, the character's a manga artist as well.
Yeah, and I didn't know that was the case, but I suspected, like, and it's perfect. Like and that's what I'm saying, like the meta on top of the meta. Like I don't know if Dazai was ever himself a manga artist for a brief period, or a painter. If he was, then it's one of those. I don't know what the word for it would be, but it's just it's as if Ito is able to put on. Well, maybe we'll borrow from The Invisibles. It's like putting on a fiction suit, and he's perfectly, like, he's one of the, like, he can do it in the way that someone else wouldn't be able to.
I like that.
And just slide right into the text and inhabit it, and then also comment on it while doing
have a perspective on it of being someone who does this.
But like he's a horror, this is a horror story. It's really a nightmare.
This guy's life is not good. Like he's so, like, his whole thing is like he's constantly trying to avoid being found out, that he doesn't connect to other people. Did you see I love the literal translation of the title, by the way, the disqualified from being human, which he does actually say. He says that in the asylum. He's like, I have been disqualified. But I love that idea.
That's hilarious. That's the literal translation. I did not know that. That's fantastic.
So
that's a better title.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Jesus. All right.
But he doesn't want people to know that he's disqualified from being human. So he acts the fool. He's constantly clowning around, because then people don't recognize him like as what he is. They're laughing at him. He's like, I'll just be nothing. I'll be the wind. I'll be the sky. And there's that one kid that it's like he's like a frog-faced kid. Like he just like has, I forget, there's some disease that he has that they talk about. But
did they? I don't recall. He just struck me as developmentally,
or something like that. Or
he's a scrofula kid. I don't know what the fuck that is, but I've heard the word, and if this is what it does to you, Jesus. I just with a scrofula face. Okay, I think it deforms the lips. Probably should have looked that up. I assumed he was developmentally disabled. Physically and developmentally disabled.
It's possible.
And perhaps also had scrofula.
Because he does have what's call it, like, unusual reactions to, like, when they're talking about art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true that he's he is given, like, as also an outcast. It's like he can sort of recognize his own, but he can't pass in the way that Yozo can pass by being the clown. But someone with a disability is able to perceive perhaps the disability of another. and maybe that's what the connection is
Yeah.
in that instance.
Exactly. Yeah, because he just like looks at him. He's like, "You did it on purpose." Like as he
Mhm.
falls or something like that, and it's just
Mhm.
like the most terrifying thing to Yozo that to be discovered or identified.
And I got the impression in this instance he's maybe even trying to be like kind. Because the kid can't do it. And I'm looking at Yozo, he's setting up, like Takechi's watching again today. He gets to take it easy, forget about him. And then so Yozo sees it and he looks back and and like just I don't know what that look is on his face, but it's regard for the boy. And then he fucks it up too, right? So in order to show solidarity with him or something, like you and there's the accusation, did it on purpose is also perhaps like you did it out of kindness, or sympathy or empathy or something like that. And
that could be.
And it's strange to think that like that horrifies him so much,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but it's like that sense of being guilty or at fault, like that or just of exposure that like seems to be the worst thing to Yozo.
Yeah.
I guess we should, before we move on too far, like there's the horrific like picture, like just like really upsetting picture of sexual abuse in his childhood, like the
thank you. On two fronts, and there is something in getting back to this. I'm not an expert on sexual assault, thank goodness for that, but there is individuals who are sort of outcast or otherwise disabled, will be higher incidence of sexual assault, sexual manipulation, etc. And this is sort of consistent with that as well. In this, so he gets like, this is the only male instance. Young master, I am it, run away,
except in
go
art
on.
school, in like when he's in art school, like the he's kind of like bullied in a way that like they want to make him a bottom or some shit, like that's
right.
But yeah, no, for sure, this so the guy's all like sweaty and creepy looking. It's really like it shows nothing and it's just disgusting.
Because I'm going to do something that feels even better than the other day, so that implies like a systematic sexual assault, and then very shortly after sexually assaulted again immediately by the maid. And so throughout the book, like he's this source of sexual attraction for any number of people, and I just found myself thinking about the death drive. There is something of death in him, and in the sense, like he leads people to die. He himself wants to die, and that fundamental relationship between sex and death is sort of embodied within him.
That's great. He's kind of like a siren. Yeah, that's like his superpower. Like really. And there's when he's like a student, like he's walking around town, he's looking like kind of like pale and deathly, and like women are just like, ooh, who's that guy? Like
yeah, and they just want to take care of him, and they just want to like and I've seen this behavior from the text really kind of holds it against women. I've seen it from men, but I've definitely seen it from women as well, and it's a real phenomenon like this that I think that's what contributes to the power of this book, is like it feels psychologically accurate to an extent. It's exaggerated, the sort of serial adultery that this guy gets up to, but but yeah, like they're like that line when that Marxist chick who he kicks in the face with trying to get away from the cops.
That's right.
And they're like, what is it? There you go, talking nonsense again. You're adorable. It's like he's talking about something
fucking
awful.
Crazy.
Yeah.
He's like blackmailing him into sex. He, like really the secret that he like ran away from like the Mayday beating. Like he's like, from a perspective, he's like dark George Costanza.
Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah, he's kind of like a helpless. Well, I guess George Costanza is helpless.
Beautiful too, George Costanza. Yeah.
Just didn't have Jerry to That's what was missing from this guy. Instead, he had I didn't write down that other guy's name. Shit.
Oh, Hariki, I think.
That seems right.
Yeah, his scummy friend.
Yeah.
Hariki, his frenemy. That guy's a real sack of shit.
Yes, he really is. He doesn't even really do anything terribly bad in comparison to Yozo, but there's still something about him that you're just like, you fucking prick. I'd rather, I don't want to read your story, dude.
Yeah, he's just slimy. He's like a Better Call Saul type guy, and just like, yeah. Well, and then, not to jump too far ahead, but like when his wife like cuckolds him, like he's standing at the window, like he's like, oh, look at this shit, and then he's just like, it would be way better if you stabbed each other, but you're just trash. It's not gonna happen, so fuck off.
Yeah. And he coughs, just to make sure that maximum discomfort draws attention to it. That was one thing that Ito said, like when talking about adapting the book. He said that the sex, and actually this makes a lot more sense to me, because I was like, how can this be a national book? How can, like, if this is the novel, how can this be like Japan's like apparently
greatest achievement?
Yeah, the sex is largely implied in the novel apparently. And I was like, okay, that makes more sense to me, because there's a lot of like straight fucking going on here. And Ito was like, I haven't really done many sexual things. I thought I'd try my hand at it. He sure
it's good
did,
to grow
dude.
as an artist. Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, it sure did. Specifically when Oki is banging away on a dude's wife.
Oh yeah.
Just
running, and his like tongue's like sticking out.
Yeah. Just like, geez.
Yeah. Before we go too far, I want to talk about the scene where they're talking. Takeichi is talking with him about art, right? So there's actually like a change I found from the novel here, which I think is really interesting. So here they're like looking at pictures of like, I guess, like expressionism and stuff like that, and Takeichi says like, oh, like these are terrific. They look like a horse out of hell. I wish I could paint pictures of ghosts like this. And then like just there's this look of like revelation on Oba's face. This is page like 58 and 59.
Yep.
And then and then so at this moment, like it's sort of like his face is shining, like he's crying, like it's a revelation. He says like, I realized at that moment that there are some whose dread of human beings is so morbid that they yearn to see monsters of ever more horrible shapes. Painters who have had this mentality, after repeated wounds at the hands of the apparitions called human beings, plainly saw monsters in broad daylight. And they did not fob people off with clowning. They did their best to depict these monsters just as they had appeared. So this is like super important. This is like the vision of like an authentic life for Oba. Like, all this discomfort and alienation he feels is possibly validated if he could just do that. If he can take what he sees and kind of show people and like what they really are, that would be something, right? It would get over that, the opposite of buffoonery. Like he'd be able to live as himself. So that's, I just want to hold on to that for later. But also it's interesting. So the actual quote from the book has, I don't know if I want to read the whole thing again.
No, go ahead.
So he says, in the book, he says, the more nervous these people are, like the people who see these monsters, the quicker to take fright, the more violent they pray that every storm will be. Painters who have had this mentality, blah, 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 come to believe in phantasms. They plainly saw monsters in broad daylight, and they depict monsters as they appear. Takeichi was right. They had dared to paint pictures of devils. These I thought would be my friends in the future. I was so excited I could have wept. So there's just this like extra idea of like they come like this psychologizing element of these painters see the devils and like they get excited about it. They want to see more. They're projecting. It kind of takes that out, and so it's like it gives. I really think that there's some like purposeful erasure there so that the ghosts in this story are more real.
Yeah, and I think also and wow, that's super interesting. Holy jumping. Because it also warrants the autobiography, that we're about to read, and it introduces like a level of irony, because like so Yozo, aka Dazai, is in, painters who have had this mentality, repleted wounds, apparitions, the hands of human beings. I paint what I actually see. Tell my story in all of its awfulness. And then
Right.
and then the the irony being that this is the very thing that drives him to suicide.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I want to talk about too, is that like there's sort of a displacement that, what we're really seeing is Dazai's, what we should be seeing is Dazai's perspective, or we need to like make like a mirror translation. I definitely want to talk about that at the end. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then on top of that, I was thinking about Junji Ito themselves as a horror artist, and how this might relate to the dude's entire career.
Oh, absolutely.
And just morbid. They yearn to see monsters of ever more horrible shapes. Like,
yeah,
right. Like that's what this guy's totally. That's his whole fucking reason for living.
Side note, I just started reading Deserter, which is actually a collection of like his earliest stories. And so you see the progression of his talent, like from like, it starts kind of rough, and then like it's more refined as it goes along. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm really liking that that we reached sort of the point of publication where we can get the complete works of people finally, in a way that we haven't been able to in the past.
Yeah.
There's been a little bit Drawn and Quarterly's been doing a real excellent job on doing like the Goro guys. Viz is, continues to do its Viz thing. We're getting full collections, and it's nice, and particularly in the case of Ito, who kind of just feels like a cut above.
Yes.
In comparison to some of the other stuff that you end up looking at. I dog-eared this a little bit too, because I was like, there's something here. But I had no idea that it was so Ito's rather than that's fascinating.
Yeah, I happened to just find that by luck yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I guess Takeichi meets a bad end.
He does.
This is sort of like his first like really low act, where he has a crush on Yozo's cousin, and so Yozo's like, oh, like I'll give her that love letter, oh yeah, she really received it well. And then when he's sort of like, oh, like you like my letter, she's like, get the fuck away from me, what are you?
You're so creepy.
Yeah,
I got the Martha dump truck treatment.
Did he ever?
Yeah.
And he succeeded at the
Martha
dump truck solution. The fucking sickle that just like, that's a horrible panel. His throat just like wide open.
Yeah, I forget something about like, so this character in the novel, I don't recall if they commit suicide, but they also don't show up as much in the later half of the book.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So apparently Ito kind of riffed on this and made it more part of the story.
Because there's a karma to it, really. And I think that his cousin gets it like far worse, like for no fault of her own necessarily. Like so, like in the next segment, Yozo ends up like being with and impregnating both his like the older cousin and this girl who like accidentally inspired this guy to commit suicide. And then when she has the baby, after murdering the older sister who she's jealous of, it just continues like this, folks. She has the baby and it looks exactly like that kid, and he's like, it was impossible that the timing, just it was impossible that he could have been the father. It's just this weird karmic like occurrence. And they come back at the end, and how.
Yeah, and that's then that gets back to the haunting and the ghosts and the familial aspect of it. Like there's an incestuous quality to his actions in a lot of ways, like going forward, like his all the women always want him to suckle at their breasts or their literal family members, or and he sort of finds peace in those sorts of relationships because of his experience with his wet nurse.
That's true, yeah.
I could just go on and on. Like it's just all, or even the Marxist lady, she's like, it would be good if you thought of me as your real sister. And yeah, it's just like this undercurrent, throughout all of his sort of sexual relationships, except perhaps, and I haven't tested this, and I didn't make a chart or anything, but like maybe the lady he marries, geez,
Oh, I got it somewhere.
Yoshiko.
Yep.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I haven't mapped it out. Either way, I think there's definitely some of that going on there.
That's interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, at the very least, it offers some sort of figurative sense to the fact that the baby looks so much like the ghost that haunts him.
Yeah.
Or his own son,
Yeah, that's his only child too, I believe, right?
I think so.
Despite all the women he's with, I think that's the only time that there's that other, the one woman that he's like, the nicest thing I can do is to disappear from your life. Who has the 5-year-old daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a legit truth.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, like very well borne out by the events of the novel.
Yeah.
So I think, like he does trend towards the marriage and stuff like that. But one interesting thing that happens as he goes into school and he meets Haruki, and like Haruki kind of introduces him to like debauchery and vice in general, like drinking, gambling, and then prostitution. And he's just like, I just go out there and get a prostitute, and it's a great time. And so there's the way that it's depicted, like when Yozo sleeps with the prostitute for the first time.
Right.
It's like a distraction from his ghosts. He's seeing the prostitute as kind of like this Buddhist, like with this like a halo around it, like it's like a radiant figure. And he says, I've lived in fear of human beings and have been tortured by the ghosts of the dead. But that night I felt utterly safe and slept through in a fog, dreamless. And I think there's something really interesting going on at that moment where there's like vice gets coded as self-negation, but with this sort of like nihilistically ironic like Buddhist twist to it, where like you're supposed to like overcome your ego and erase yourself, and the noble truth that we suffer because we desire. Well, if you can get rid of desire, then maybe that's a left-handed way to do it.
Well, there is, and maybe you were thinking that we would get there, but doesn't he, like the very last lines, like, not feeling happiness or unhappiness.
Absolutely.
Everything passes,
Definitely.
Yeah. And he's like this dark, cliphotic Buddha.
Yeah, I think that there's a dark enlightenment. Like you could read this as a dark enlightenment novel where like he does achieve some sort of like, and like, I want to go over the last chapter in detail because it's
yeah.
But I think he's kind of a holy fool in a way. Like you could definitely see him that way.
Wow, man, I hadn't really thought of that, but yeah, I'm fully on board with that. And this is sort of this is kind of his initiation into enlightenment, and then after this, it's like a Tyler Durden thing. It's you got to get down to the bottom before you.
Absolutely, yeah. He just doesn't have a following. He's doing it on his own.
Yeah. Yes. Looking good. I like his original painting when he shows it to the kid Haichi, and he's like, it does look like you after all. This is your true face, and like,
yeah,
and then it shows him like later on smoking, his eyes are all dark and stuff like that, and like, those images are very similar. Like we're seeing his true face now, starting to come out, because like everything, and they say it explicitly, like he has like he it's prophetic, the kid knew as the ghost, as the haunting ghost, like, who sort of sees the future, or at least speaks from a position of the future. Yeah, just kind of signposts, moments of, you're going to be a great painter. And we'll see that later.
Yeah. I'm so impressed like at these. So like, first of all, the pressure that you must have to be like, okay, like I have to paint something that's going to look like a masterpiece. He does it 3 times in this, and like they're amazing pictures. Like they're really something.
Yeah.
And there's a progression in them too. Like the first one's a sort of like naive looking, like I don't know, like withered like muscle figure. Like he amazes himself that he could draw this. And then there's that one of his wife, but she's like the femme fatale. It's just like, like I she's not like that. Everything I create comes out as ghosts. And then of course the horrible one where he teams up with the pharmacist and like they're like decaying / dissolving into nothingness. It's like the cover of the novel. That was just wow.
Yeah. The femme fatale. So but that's what Yozo is.
Yes.
Is a femme fatale. Like even the way they describe the image, you've drawn her as a femme fatale. I can't find it, but yeah, that's again like it's kind of more like a self-portrait once again, but like it's the lady killer portrait of himself.
Yeah, there's a lot of displacements. Yeah, like you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Oh, that lady. So just to like, I know it's jumping ahead, but I just like I'm looking at the image of the lady with the pharmacist, and she's like tending her dead plants or whatever, and it just looks like she's like manipulating Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Like this is horrible blob creature, and just like, and it's very psychedelic, but like dark psychedelic.
You should draw those every time too, like when they're fucking in the field of those like weird.
Yeah,
like it looks like something out of Romina. Really, I guess he had some practice doing that. But yeah, it's like her shack is just like hung with these poison herbs, and they just like they're nightmarish looking.
Yeah. So
his first,
but so he's the firstborn son. He's in art school or school. He's gone to see the prostitutes, and now he's getting mixed up with the Marxists.
What'd you think of that?
I don't know really what to think about it. I mean, it was interesting that they're all insects. It's kind of like, it's actually kind of cheap to think of, like communists as insect creatures. They're hive mind, all that stuff. It probably makes sense in the context of the novel. But yeah, I don't know.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like word for word. I like that the lead guy is like just like sweaty. Like every time he reads Marx, he's just like sweating, like just perverted for it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of I'm not sure what, and I don't blame Ito for this, but because it's autobiographical and the story is the story, but I don't know what it does for the story other than the fact that it was something that happened to the writer, to Dazai.
Yeah, I think there's a level of it where it's like, I've been through life, I've tried everything. Here is something that people told me as a solution to understanding life, and like I was comfortable. Like the more I saw you as insects, I was comfortable with that. But like I just, like ultimately this is obvious, and like it doesn't tell me anything about society. Like, yeah.
And and it's an opportunity for it is an opportunity for him to be faithless and cowardly and shitty, like so.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the purpose it serves. Like he gets involved with this, mission, and he's actually kind of good at it. He likes to put out the posters and stuff like that. He throws himself into it, but when push comes to shove, it's there's only number one guy. That's Yozo.
Yeah. crawls through the legs and then like kicks his like lover in the face to get away.
The funny thing is, I didn't see that it was her that he had kicked, until she accused him later. And then, oh yeah, looking at it right now, twice.
Yeah.
He just kept fucking kicking her until she let go of him.
It's that. And you know what else it does? It puts him in this like super low place where he meets that what's her name? This one's the worst. Like this might be the lowest when when he hooks up with
Suneko?
Yeah. And her like it's like a fucking Smog song how sad their relationship is. Like it's they're her husband's in jail and she's just like hanging on and they like he's like, oh, I felt like feeble amounts of love for her and like there's this connection. But like it just dry like there's that really interesting panel too that they're making love but they're like melting together like in this like weird blob.
Yeah.
And then he's just like convinces her that like, oh, we gotta kill ourselves, like that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Like they, and they go to do it. Like they're on a little like date or vacation. She's like, if we could just do this, like I think I would feel like comfortable in life. He's like, no, fuck that. Like we will be together forever in the next life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is love and poverty. And it's her that says she wants to die. And then he opens his eyes, and he's just like, I'm your Huckleberry.
Right.
I'll do it. And it kind of draws them closer together. Like, just getting back to like the sort of the death drive element.
Yes, there's a bond there. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it really is the case. Oh, that's just like the horror. Like, oh, it hurts when she takes the pills.
Goodness.
And she's like, her tongue's swollen up.
Yeah. And he just looks kind of doped up, like it's like he didn't take as many pills as she did or something.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really an honest effort, but
I think that's it, eh? Yeah.
That's possible. Like given his behavior.
Yeah, or he sees what's happening to her, he's like, oh, I don't know.
Well, I'm looking at his hand. I'm looking at all the pills he put in his hand, and he put them all in his mouth, and he drank a bunch of booze. I don't see him spitting out or anything. Like there's nothing in the text that gives us the impression that
he just got didn't dose right.
Yeah, I guess so. Or he's just like he's just a fucking reprobate and he can just survive anything.
That's quite possible.
Yeah, just like Philip K. Dick of sleeping pills. It's not a problem.
Just this horrible like hallucinations of like all these ghosts now coming after him while he's lying there, lining up to judge him.
Like so many awesome hallucinations, like, and it's perfect, like again, I'd like to see the original, not see the original novel, but have a better sense of the original novel, because I just wonder how much I would like to see the prose that goes with these hallucinations. Like I bet it's not tame, but I just wonder if it's this evocative and like even going back to page like 149, 148, when the chapter opens up meeting with Suneko, pardon me. He's in that sand dune and he's slipping down and his family's at the bottom of the dune. Right. And then Neko, the Marxist, comes out of the sand like Sandman, right? Yes. Emerges and grabs him and is pulling him in before he wakes up. And I don't know, that's just like, I'd love to read the prose on that and do the challenge, because these are such striking images.
Yeah, that's another one of those displacements too, because like really he's the antlion at the middle of the sand pit. Like he just pulls people into
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I'm looking at her like swollen face on purpose.
Oh god, yeah, it's awful.
Did it? Yeah. I guess it's all part of a dream and whatnot. Yeah, and then the police investigate him. He ends up with the fish face guy.
Right, his father's friend. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot.
Like
flat fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't quite set anyone straight.
No. then I think, it's the possibility of marriage that gets him out of that situation, isn't it? Where, no, because okay, never mind. He hooks up with the other one first. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of about, like, this is sort of like, the middle chapter is sort of like this, you fucked up like a lot, but there's a chance of respectability, and it's it is sad, like it's tragic because he has these chances, like he's very talented, like the major paper wants to sign him up as like a manga artist, and then they find out about this suicide pact that he had, and they're like, nope, we are not gonna engage with that. Meanwhile, like that dude Aoki, like his biggest champion / greatest enemy, because he's the guy who ends up like cuckolding him, but he's like, you're a genius, like we're gonna find some way, like he brings that famous critic to view his art, like we're gonna get you in the galleries and all this stuff. Like he just believes in him the whole way.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading so he ends up a kept man with that lady, and she kind of expressed, this is sort of,
Nakano, or I think is her name.
Women lay eyes on you and they can't let you alone. You're always so timid, and sometimes you get terribly depressed, but that only makes a woman's heart itch all the more for you. She's just like swooning at him.
Yeah.
But sorry, while this is all going on, so he's having like kind of like a nice relationship with the family and everything. There's this kite. There's the kite in the background.
Yeah.
He's always being. I don't know whose face that is, honestly.
Okay.
Maybe. Is it his? I don't know who's.
Yeah, or I wonder. Because the image of the kite like plays in the very finale as well.
Yes. Yeah. Which I didn't like. I was kind of flipping through. We might as well say that. I don't know. It's just like, it's just like double suicide. Like it's a newspaper kite. And it announces his death. And I just. It gives more resonance to the kite, which just constantly shows up in the background, like haunting, hanging out the window. Like it's
decaying.
Yeah. And again, is that in the novel? To what extent is that in the novel? Like, it makes me curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So then sort of like his... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. We were probably just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, his greatest chance at respectability is like he gets married to this... What is he, a flower vendor?
Oh, right. After he like sleeps with that bartender for a while.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she just takes that as well. She's like wounded, but she's like, oh, like great, you're getting married. Cool.
Yeah. I don't know what she sells. She sells something. She's a lady at a stall of some sort. Tobacco. There we go. Of course. Yeah. Goodness, Yozo.
Yeah.
You can't go on drinking every day and from morning to night. Oh, I love you so much. You fucking.
Yeah. You're an idiot. He's just like constantly telling her, like, she's just like, her thing is like, she's just so innocent, and like, I guess that's what attracts him to her too, that she's, and he says several, what a holy thing uncorrupted virginity is, and she has this genius for trusting people. And no, in the novel, apparently, I didn't confirm if this is true, but apparently it's actually a sexual assault on part of Aoki. It's not
wow.
Yeah, so it's not a willing thing, and that ends up driving him to insanity, and he ends up in the asylum and sort of despondent at the end.
Okay.
But here, things start going really well for him, and the really interesting thing is that on the best day of his life, it's like you're gonna get this like syndication, like your comics are doing well. His dad shows up, but the dad's a ghost, and that kind of stays with them for a while. That's really weird. But it makes sense when you think about it. As like you don't really know everything with his dad, but there's obviously some like major sense of, like when he goes through the vision of hell like and talks about all the misfortunes that have befallen him. Like his
Mhm.
one of the last ones is his father, who like commands him to like, well, I guess gives him the sword. Like this ghost like throws down a blade at one point and says, like you're scum, like
Yeah.
you'd be better off killing yourself, like your cheap pornography is more suited to you, like than like
Mhm.
what give up these dreams. So it's like this, it's almost like this weight that's on him that's preventing him from success.
Yeah, I guess and that gives it, that's kind of like a Freudian thing, right? It's
Yes,
which
definitely.
is like in keeping with the time, but
Yeah.
yeah, also the extent that the father is associated with the nation and the this is
Ah, you're
like it's
so
sort of
right.
a fascist, like it's Imperial Japan at the time and stuff like when he throws up in the snow, like it's just a bloody Japanese flag. Uh,
Yes.
it's connected in the way that ties into the familial ghosts, haunting, like the genetic curse that's existed. Um, which and it's one of those things that gives this, because it could just be, it could be a story about some guy who's just an asshole. And but it manages to be so much more, because like if the alienation that he's feeling is, and the anxiety and the stuff that he's trying to repress and deal with is the fact that he lives in a totalitarian, highly traditionalist society where fathers rule over, uh, and the emperor rules over everybody. um, there's a legitimacy to that.
You're so
There's
right.
there's a comment contained within that.
Yeah, that's a big missing piece. And in fact, in the asylum, when Oa meets Dazai, he talks it like
Mhm.
when he learns that his father dies, Dazai's like, oh, congratulations, like, and he talks about how like this weight's lifted off him. There's he
Yeah.
feels empty of suffering now that now that his father's passed, and his brother's like, those were dad's rules, like we're like disowning you. I'm gonna make
Mhm.
sure you're taken care of. Just like get out of the city. Like we don't want you around, but I'm gonna make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely. That makes so much sense.
yeah. I don't know what to. Here's another situation where I find myself wondering how much room it takes in the novel, like when he throws up all of his various misfortunes,
Yeah.
like in his yet another descent into fucking madness. Had he already started on the opium by then? Am I jumping ahead
So
past
that's no. So that's the he grabs a
another
box of
sleeping?
pills,
Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
yeah, exactly. It's after his wife is unfaithful, and
Hmm.
he just decides to end it, and he starts seeing all those visions.
Right. Right.
It's like
And yeah,
literally right after, yeah.
yeah, and it's so many chapters, like 2 chapters of going through all of it, and it concludes with the vomiting into the snow of
Yeah, just
Japan.
falling and barfing. Like just,
Yeah,
yeah.
just a final barf.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, like we're going through it, misfortune of society, the misfortune of being respected, of friendship. I'm surprised women come so low on the list. With
Yeah,
how
that's not
much
their
they haunt
fault.
them. Oh, no, it's true. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's true. But and then home, siblings, mother, Toki, the wet nurse, and then father, and then of course being born.
Do you think the wet nurse is the one who molested him?
Oh well, no, because Toki left or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different one, and I don't even know if it's a wet nurse, because like I don't think she nursed him.
I think he does say that. I think because there's a
Oh yeah,
scene a
okay,
little later when he's remembering that she showed him like this mural of like all these like people in hell or whatever. And
right, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, his dad gives
yeah.
him was that the first, is he the first misfortune or the two? Like he says they're the heaviest. Yeah,
It's
being
yeah. Well,
born.
yeah, so he's actually like it's super artful, because it's like I know there's two left, and I know number 10 is being born, but a number 9, I have to get rid of it. I have to get rid of it. There's a little bit of suspense, and he pulls out the dagger, and that the father had given, and then he stabs himself. But I don't think at any point he says explicitly that the ninth misfortune is his father. I might be wrong about that.
But his father just like bursts out in like sort of like a giant specter. Like you get a splash page of his dad as a ghost.
Yeah.
And then so it's
Now
you're right. He doesn't name it.
Yeah.
But and his dad's talking about the nation and you'd end your life at this critical junction of our national history. You'll of course choose to end your life by your own hand. And it's like sort of like such a damned if you do, like, his dad gave him that knife and like told him to do it. And he's like, you fucking idiot, what are you doing?
Now you got to go to hell.
Yeah,
you deserve to go in hell because you commit suicide.
Yeah, just can't win.
Yeah, can't win with and he looks like, I don't know, it's easy to say that nowadays. Like, he's got that Hitler mustache. He's just we see him differently elsewhere, but as I don't know, in this particular haunting,
he does have that look. Yeah,
like it's not as gaunt, it's not as long a face. And here it's just a little bit Hitler. Just a tiny bit.
That's a great you know what, like all this I wasn't quite. I felt like there was a connection there that I wasn't quite getting, but you're 100% right. And then like you say, like it goes from that into throwing up the rising sun.
Yeah.
And there's ghost soldiers kind of walking past him.
Yeah, and it's because he's developed, I guess, tuberculosis or something. Like he's not well.
Yeah.
He's been vomiting blood for quite a while. His teeth are all fucked up. And
he talks about how like he starts drinking like after his wife. He just resents the fact that like her purity has been, her sense of trust has been violated. And he's like, so I started drinking gin all the time, and I lost all my teeth, and like I drew cheap pornography so that I could get more money for gin. That's so sordid.
Yeah. And he's imagining that like she's sleeping with people all the time now, and dad, yeah, it's just like, it's including his dad is having sex with her, and she's like, why are you saying this to me?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's a real weird. Yeah. Oh, there's that moment like right after where he's like just like jerking it as he's watching them. It's like, oh god, this guy's life is the worst.
When he's like, I've never known such pleasure, but then I've never known such bleak despair. Yeah. And then he picks up the bottle and off he goes. He's just takes the dagger, ruins his art.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we got to mention that. Yeah, slashes it all up. He's like, it's perfect. It's done now.
Yeah, and there was this sense that because he was somewhat living a straight and narrow life. He was attempting to sublimate these feelings that he was having.
Yes.
And Yoshiko kind of like something about her ability to trust completely. Like there's no subterfuge with her. She's like a, not a mirror, because it doesn't reflect back, but it's just like this like a one-way street. Like, cause that's kind of what trust is, right? Like there's no concern or evaluation or any guile whatsoever. It's just like you tell that person something and they will believe you. And so like there was a freedom to wear a mask and to never be examined, and to sublimate fully, let's say. And then that gets ruined.
Absolutely, yeah.
And sort of ironically, and this book is so riddled with irony, and like ironically, because it's his art dealer, like it's his agent that allows him to get work as an artist, so he can fully sublimate. And also his own rival who steals, usurps his position, that like reveals the fact that his wife is. Yeah, so it's like the sort of material reality of trying to sublimate yourself through art kind of militates against him. And then he's like, fine, I'm just going to get back to booze. Booze never let me down. Booze and broads.
Yeah.
Where it's, dead bodies everywhere. Let's go.
And then eventually morphine. I love that. Where like, yeah.
Oh my God.
She's like, she's like, you can't drink. Drinking's horrible. Here, take this. It's better than drinking.
Yeah.
Just use it sparingly. And it's
Yeah.
morphine because she uses it for she has some sort of like permanent chronic pain, so she uses it for that.
Yeah. And he sees that like. Oh, go on.
Oh, just when she shoots up the first time, she's got that like look on her face, like, oh yeah, this is going to a good place.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
They have that weird junkie sex, like good.
Yeah. And he's like, I want a little bit of that, like that's that looks good. And when she hurts it, like something like it's weird, like, so he's addicted and he's just like, I need it, and she's like, I can't give it to you, and he's trying to trick her, and then but her leg starts acting up or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need my medicine, and like he fucking that scene where he shoots up before he gives it to her, and I was like, oh, you beauty.
One for me, one for you.
Yeah, just perfect.
Yeah.
And
it's noticing like it's really there's a. Oh, go ahead. What do you notice?
No, go ahead. Okay,
I was just gonna say that like it's interesting that he's always saying like, like, I finally met you, like you're my destiny, like and there is like a real connection between them with their art, like when she kind of like enhances his picture by doing the dried herbs over them and stuff like that. He's like, whoa, yeah. This is the greatest thing, and you're my soulmate, and I've been waiting for you for like in past lives. But it's always like he's like reaching for the morphine as he says these things. Yeah,
because he's not really talking to her.
But he kind of like, there are a few moments where it's like, he genuinely feels remorse like about what he does to her, and like I think on some level he does care for her, but it's really tied in with the drugs.
Yeah, just the fact that she's I hadn't noticed. So while he's moving in on the pharmacist, and they're growing closer together through the use of morphine, there's this moment where again, like the child that looks like Heiichi is has the torn up kite on their back,
right,
and you see it so often that you kind of gloss over it until you start to really think about like what it means and what it heralds. Just this idea of the prophet still there, letting the future is still to come, and the future is your death. The the newspaper story that we're going to end with, or the story that we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to go back to the very image of that starts off this book. And yeah, that's just, and again, that's Ito brought that sort of harmony to it, like visual coherence to the story. And I that's such a lovely touch. Lovely is a strong word, but really like effective touch. Like, good for him. And then the wife starts to realize, my husband was so nice with the medicine, so can I get some more medicine for my husband? Until she breaks. What breaks her again?
She sees him there, I think, and then it kind of like, then she starts getting a little bit like Lady Macbeth, like washing her hands all the time, and it's it just kind of devolves from there to, it's like, I heard you sell poisonous herbs. I kind of need some poisonous herbs. And he's like, you're just kind of hiding out in the back of the shack as she's doing this.
The beginning of her breakdown is very interesting. It's like, did I lock the door? It's the sort of phrase that you wouldn't think anything about, except like, remember, she's a genius at trusting, and then all of a sudden she wakes up.
Oh yeah.
Did I lock the door?
Yeah. Good point,
I do not trust anymore. She's very afraid.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing in particular. Face. Yeah. Like she's upset or whatever, but it's like she just breaks one night and wakes up and he's fucking shooting heroin like right beside her. And then it starts. That's the third time tonight she's checked the door. What's the matter with her?
Yeah, because she starts being like, oh, like, you didn't come home last night. What happened? Like,
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely that sense of like home outside being a danger, and the increasing suspicion.
Mm-hmm. Something had started to come loose inside Yoshiko.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. Does it ever?
Yeah, just like, the opening, like her eyes are rolling all over the place, like she's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's driven her totally insane.
That's like a right straight callback to like a toned down like spiral into horror moment, like with the rolling eyes too.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And they take on this like pallid, like there's something every once in a while when Yozo really gets the zap on someone. They like, Ito indicates this through like an excessive cross hatching.
Yes.
And then starts fucking with the pupils of the eye. And that's how you know they've turned into a ghost. Or they've become a.
Yeah, like when somebody gets the heavy like bags under their eyes, or like bad stuff's about to happen too.
Yeah, they're not coming back. They've turned into a zombie. And then it's just kind of a matter of time. Oh yeah, she just starts mowing down on that. Oh god.
Oh yeah. There's she also has an obsessive thing where she has like a shrine to like those poisonous plants, and she's just like Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, and it's a prayer actually to I think it's like the Pure Land Buddha, like, but this Buddha is like promises salvation and rebirth and like paradise to her followers. And I think it's tied in with, it may be tied in with nationalism too. I actually can't remember at the second, but that comes back in the final chapter as well. That's the mantra that Yozo is going to be repeating to himself with his family. Just wanted to flag that now.
No, and
again, like going back to the idea of like the dark enlightenment sort of thing, like
also, it's what Reg Robin calls on. Namo Amida Butsu. Yeah.
She'll take you home. That's right.
Yeah. Edith says to call on Booty. So it's still happening, man.
Shit, there's all this weird connection. I mean, I guess we've seen so much of Invisibles that it's natural that we'll make the connections, but
cannot not be done. So where there's a fire, she dies, poisons herself, and then there's a fire.
That's so, like, he hides out like for days, like before going to the, like, that's so low, like he just refuses to. She's dying, you gotta come to your wife, please, Yozo, and he just refuses to go. I mean, she's pretty scary at that point. I might have done the same, but still, it's low.
He's just hiding with the he just grabs all the bushels and goes. Please stop your wife, and he's like, no. It's all right. Yeah, and he just keeps saying that it's all right, it's fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Yoshiko dead. Return immediately. 2 days later. Prick. So he let's go up to the sanitarium. Let's
because he's like I want to be in a place without women, so they they drag him away. And of course the first he has the train spotting withdrawal, like all the ghosts come crowding in, like he's just surrounded by the ghosts of the women. There's no space for anybody except for them and him. And then he sees
I forgot that he was like, I want to go somewhere where there aren't any women, and I love flat faces. A place without women, an excellent idea. Shall we go right now? Do a place without women? Jesus. Okay, I forgot about that. Train spotting hallucination though. Yeah, he's full on. I'm a clown. I've lived a lie.
Yeah, and this is where he meets. He sees like the shadowy figure. He's like, oh, it's a doppelganger, and And he explicitly says, like, because there is this legend. I was thinking that there's a legend. If you see your doppelganger, who see a vision of themselves, will soon be visited by death. Really important there.
Right.
And yeah, like, what do we make of the fact that they look like each other? I think that this is like, in reality, it would have been Dazai perhaps like seeing Yozo in like as a potential character, right? Like in an asylum. Yeah. And so like it's this mirroring of like what it would have actually been like. And so here Dazai seems more or less, like sedate compared to this guy. He's like, like I would love to write about your life. Like, it's such a tragic life. And he's like, well, like we're basically the same. He's like, no, your life is like way, way sadder. I'd be honored if you'd let me write about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that they link to, here's my first story collection. And I don't know, they don't give us a translation of the title page or whatever, but I guess you maybe you don't need it. But dude reads it, and eventually he reads it, and shit, what does he say? I'm not going to find it immediately, but just something like, oh wait, there we go. I lost track of time. It's honestly been a long time since I immersed myself in a novel like that. Although it wasn't a novel, it was a story collection.
Right.
It's hard to believe it all happened to someone else. On top of that, there's even a character with my name. This is a strange coincidence. Yeah, several stories in this collection are your own experiences. Yeah, and so like, it's the artist. It's weird. Like, it's the artist talking about the artist's own previous art with themselves in a work of art. And it's it's a weird sort of postmodern conceit within an autobiography. I don't know. It makes sense at the end, but like when it's first happening, you're just like, well, why are they doing this?
Yeah, exactly. Why are they doing this? Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to keep acting out our comedy.
Yeah, and the next chapter is called Comedy, where he like gets out, and there's that. It's such a dick move where it's like brilliantly so, where it all builds up. It's looking hopeful. He sees Setsuko, and or is that her name? The like the woman who had his baby.
I don't recall. We'll see in a second though. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're looking at her like, oh, that woman's incredibly beautiful, isn't she? It's like, oh my god, like I know her. Little kid runs over, Daddy. And he's like, Daddy? And then Yozo's, and there's that even like, but who do you think she's looking at? Me or you?
Yeah.
So all these little nods.
Yeah, and then
he says that weird thing where he says I had it marked. He says something like maybe here's, if you look closer, that boy might actually be a lovely child. Dazai says this, and so like this sort of like leads Oba to that revelation, like, I've been saved because of Dazai. Like, he's responsible for my happiness. I'm gonna start a life with these people.
Yes.
Which becomes really fucking dark, as we'll see.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why we have this meeting of the artist in the like, again, it's this displacement, but I think that it's kind of pointing to this, like, if art was held out as the potential salvation, this really is pointing out to just like a limit of art, and it's like really not, like it can't overcome the choices you made, the person you are, and it's like a chef's kiss of nihilism that we're about to witness. But I don't know like the, it's not uplifting or anything like that, but it's definitely interesting.
It's, you're right. You don't come away. I'm coming away have very different feelings now that we've like touched on this dark enlightenment idea. But it's probably going to take me a day or so to really like come to grips with like what I think now. But so yeah, okay. So go on.
I just before we move on, just like to complete that thought, because I was just thinking a little more. But so like if Oba's the doppelganger, he's got a life that should look similar, and so I guess there's this idea that if you can work through that trauma through art, that you'd be able to purge yourself of it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. That art could be salvation in that way, and maybe a way to become more fully human. But no.
Yeah. Well, you just like you're no longer or rejected from humanity. Yeah.
A way to connect with you, like to take that and like actually like give it to people, and like, you know, the book being the bridge or something like that.
That's not a can opener, is it? Jeez. Sorry, talking to myself here. Because on the one hand, the book wants to indicate that there's revelation through art, right? And then on the other hand, it wants to indicate that there isn't a salvation through art.
I think that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, because he's gonna. I mean, the creation of the art itself, as we've sort of already established, leads to his death, or inspires his death, or at the very least does not stop his death. The prophet has spoken, and now the tragedy must complete itself. And then, but nonetheless, within that kernel, within that experience, there's, you know, he says, "You saved me," but you know, you really didn't. It's false. Yeah, false salvation. But yeah, just at the end, they like, you know, he's beyond happiness. He's not happy or unhappy. He's no longer human. Everything passes.
Yeah. That final image, like I think about that quite a bit.
And what it figures. Which like the very final image where he's all emaciated.
Yeah, him in the wheelchair and just like smiling in this like weird like toothless way. You don't know what he's thinking, but it's like it could be anything.
He's not thinking a goddamn thing.
That's probably true.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like he's gone. He's neither happiness nor, you know, just it all happens. He's just like this sieve that experience passes through.
Yes.
You know, and it's figured by the boy with the kite that announces his death. You know, the good news. The gospel of his death is on the winds of the vast sea, and the woman who figures his death. You know, like he's constantly in that space.
Yeah. And there's karmic punishment to it too, like I guess we can just talk about that now. Let's back up for a sec, because I think there's something interesting like in this journey of Dazai, because he's going out there. Like there's this cottage, he's learned where Yozo is, and there's a sense that it's going to be renewing. Like there's a sense that you know this guy saved me. Like it's 10 years. I really need a boost, man, because like I'm not feeling good. Like, and I think that this guy is going to be really good for me when I meet up with him. There's a sense of like almost like a monastic space. Like when he goes into that cottage, there's the weird like that housekeeper who's just kind of
master.
Yeah, and she's like, like the master's always saying how much you saved him, Dazai. Like, you know, like this is great that you're here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, he's right in here. And he's just like flopped over, like despondent, white-haired. And you know, it's like, like, hey, Yoba, it's me, Dazai. It's been so long. He's just like despondently stares at him. I finished the book. Here it is, buddy. Please talk. And it's just like he's not getting what he needs from this at all. You know, like I wanted to speak with you again. I wanted to regain the hope we had then. That's why I've come today. Just won't talk at all. Yeah. And then his wife comes in, and she's like, she's fucking terrifying. She's just like staring at him. You know, there's a woman outside. Who is that woman? And it's that sense of like, like this is sort of his punishment. Like she starts beating him. You know, like you've had another woman again, and it's that. all of his womanizing, I guess he can kind of accept that as a just end for him. Like that this is his family. His creepy son looks around the corner at him, and then when she goes to like fuck him, and she just like takes down her top, and he's his just like his rib cage is so skeletal, like just terrifying looking. Yeah, apologize to me.
Yeah. And it gets back to like, being terrorized by this like death mother figure.
Yes.
And
it's the same thing. She's offering her breast, like basically like in that actually he is like he's basically nursing.
Yeah. And the kid's there, dad on purpose. I know your true nature your whole life. And he's in this and I guess this would be very uncomfortable if, putting aside the sanitarium and the fact that like this guy came here for hope, but he shows up, and the guy's like, he's in this perpetual cycle still, like he hasn't escaped it, but he's found a place within it, and an acceptance, like this is the, because he's still smiling, like she's just, like the only thing that stirs him from his torpor, is this lady like screaming at him, "You're sleeping like you slept with my sister."
Yeah.
Ma'am, what? You're wrong. That's my companion. And he's just like, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't. He's paying for the crimes. I think you said karma, and that's what's going on here.
Yeah. Bleak as fuck. I love it.
Yeah. This was I like this book at least 3 or 4 times more now that we've talked about it.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
I think this conversation filled in some gaps for me too. Like I really like. I think it's a masterpiece. My personal feeling is that this is like a 10 out of 10 horses from hell, which we all know is the standard of art.
Yeah, I got to agree. Yeah, this is a banger. This is like, a friend of mine, Jason, old JJ, hey JJ, read this. Said it was difficult to empathize with the main character, and like, that's not wrong. Like that's not wrong. This one's takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of a desire to watch human, like someone, disqualified from human, to see what that means. And just, go along on that journey. Like that's a rough one, but I think there's like, what I really like about it is like, I'm absolutely certain that there's more depths to it that we're just not sort of grasping as a consequence of not being like, not having read the novel and not having
the cultural background.
Yeah, a bunch of threads we're probably not grasping. But still though, like it's a very accessible work nonetheless, I think.
I think so. I mean, if you like unrelenting downward slides, as we both do, this is for you.
Yeah. So, well, if you like unrelenting downward slides, you know what to do. Just like Matthew McConaughey says, give up on the raw deal.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.